What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the Week 12 schedule, and what that means is we're going to be going over the teams with the best and worst schedules, and also the streamers to help you maximize your games. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. Before we start, you guys know the drill. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also follow me on Twitter/X at FIREDUP Fantasy. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's talk about the schedule, guys. First off, I want to mention a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that obviously games are not starting until the 27th this week, okay? So Monday and Tuesday, no games. Wednesday is when they start. I also quickly want to touch on off nights for this week. Normally when I do these videos, it's pretty cut and dry which days are the off nights and which days are the heavy nights. But for this week, it's a little bit different. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 18 teams play. It's definitely a decent amount of games, but it's not as heavy as we typically see, especially on a Saturday. So what you're going to want to do is check your roster on those nights and see if you have open roster spots on those nights. That's how you're going to be able to figure out which players to stream and which players you can fit into your roster for the entire week. Moving on, I want to talk about the teams with the best schedules for this week. There's not the best off night schedules this week. There's no teams that play 4 games. There's no teams that have more than one off night, but we do have a decent amount of teams that play 3 games and have one off night this week, so let's talk about it. I've ranked these by their opponent goals against average. We have the number 1 team being the Los Angeles Kings. Then we have the Carolina Hurricanes, the Edmonton Oilers, the Montreal Canadiens, the San Jose Sharks, and the Philadelphia Flyers. Like I said earlier, if you have open roster spots on certain days, then certain teams are going to be better streaming options, so make sure you understand this. For example, the Flyers play Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. If you happen to have open roster spots on Friday and Sunday, then technically the Flyers have 3 off nights for you. So just make sure you check your schedule and see which teams best fit your roster spots. Moving on, we have the teams that play 3 games but have no off nights. I've ranked these by opponent goals against average. And again, some of these teams could have off nights for you. It just depends. So we have the Dallas Stars, the Ottawa Senators, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Colorado Avalanche, the Jets, the Sabres, the Devils, the Panthers, the Penguins, the Predators, the Blues, the Red Wings, the Blackhawks, the Rangers, the Capitals, and the Ducks. Now moving on to the teams that play the least amount of games. We have one team this week that only plays once, and that team is the Vancouver Canucks. Not good for maximizing your games. I wouldn't suggest picking up players from this team unless you think they're really going to be good long term. Next, we have teams that only play 2 games this week. It's not the worst situation because it's not like we have a bunch of teams that play 4 times this week, but still, it's not ideal for maximizing your games. We have the Calgary Flames, the Seattle Kraken, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Vegas Golden Knights. If you have a bunch of players on these teams, you're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. Hopefully, it doesn't cost you your week. Next up, we have the teams with the easiest opponent record this week. These teams are playing teams that generally don't get a lot of wins, so there's a chance that the goalies on these teams could do pretty well. We have the Dallas Stars, the Edmonton Oilers, the Winnipeg Jets, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Colorado Avalanche. Then we got the teams with the hardest opponent record this week. It might be tough for the goalies on these teams, so you might want to avoid picking them up for the entire week. We have the Chicago Blackhawks, the Washington Capitals, the Minnesota Wild, the St. Louis Blues, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Next, we have the teams with the highest opponent goals against average, and what this means is that they face teams this week that let in a lot of goals, so the players on these teams could do pretty well. We have the Dallas Stars, the Ottawa Senators, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Boston Bruins, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then we got the teams with the lowest opponent goals against average, and what this means is that these teams are facing teams that don't normally let in a lot of goals. The players on these teams could underperform this week, so keep this in mind. We have the New York Islanders, the Minnesota Wild, the Vancouver Canucks, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Philadelphia Flyers. Next up, I want to talk about the players that you could stream for the entire week that could help you maximize your games. This is a little bit tougher to do, like I said, because it really depends on your schedule and if you have open roster spots, but these are the players on teams that have 3 games and 1 off night this week. We have the Los Angeles Kings players, the Hurricanes players, the Oilers players, the Canadiens players, the Sharks players, and the Flyers players. For the Kings, we have Quinton Byfield, first line power play. I think he is due for a big game soon, so could be a great option. Great opponent goals against average as well. We have Trevor Moore, who's been playing fantastic this year. Drew Doughty on the first line power play. Then we got some other guys. Philip Deneau, always solid peripherals as well. Then we got Arthur Kaliev. This is definitely a deeper league option if you're in a league with like 16 teams or more. Then for the Carolina Hurricanes players who have a great opponent goals against average this week, Andrei Svechnikov, due for a big bounce back. His shooting percentage is super low. Top 6 minutes, first line power play. We got Seth Jarvis, great deployment this year, still first line power play, solid peripherals. Michael Bunting, who is on the first line power play right now. And then we also got Brent Burns, who is quarterback in the first line power play once again. So very solid options, all under 90% rostered, all on the first line power play. Then we got more deeper league options. Teuvo Teravainen and Brady Shea. Then for the Oilers players, there's not many options because they are very top heavy, but Evander Kane, not going to be available in leagues that count shots and hits heavily, but in a simple points league, he could be solid for this week considering the Oilers' opponent goals against average. Then we have some deeper league options: Matthias Ekholm, Darnell Nurse, Warren Fogle, and Ryan McLeod. And we have some Montreal Canadiens players, and some of these players are great options in my opinion. Cole Caulfield is shooting the puck a ton and has a super low shooting percentage, so expect him to put the puck in the net very soon. We also got Nick Suzuki, who's playing great this year, Mike Matheson, who's also playing amazing, Sean Monahan, who's on the first line power play, he's played solid, and then we got Slavkovsky, who's actually playing pretty good as of late. So this could definitely be a sneaky ad and a diamond in the rough because he's on the first line and the first line power play, and there's always a chance he could break out. Then we got Josh Anderson, guys. And listen, Anderson has been horrible all year, but he went on a little bit of a streak the last couple of games, so maybe he can continue it. This would definitely only be a deeper league option because he's not on the first line power play. Then we have some Sharks players. They don't have the best opponent goals against average, but some of these guys are good options because of their deployment. We have Tomas Hertl, Mikael Granlund, William Eklund, and Fabian Zetterlund. Then we have the Philadelphia Flyers players. They don't have the best opponent goals against average this week, so their players could underperform, but there are many great Flyers options, so you could take a look at them. We have Travis Konechny, who's playing great this year. He's on pace for over 40 goals. Sean Couturier, who's looking like his former self. Great deployment on the first line power play. Then we have Owen Tippett. Amazing shots, amazing hits. Doesn't have the best ice time and is not on the first line power play, but it doesn't matter because he's still producing, so please take a look at him. We have Travis Sanheim, who is having a career year. Joel Farabee playing really solid. Morgan Frost, who is on the first line power play and in the top 6, getting more minutes as of late, which we'd love to see. We have Cam Atkinson. He's slowed down since the start of the year, but still a good option in a deeper league. Then we got Tyson Forster. He's on the first line power play. He's getting a decent amount of minutes. So in general, he could be a good option in a deeper league. The last two players we have are Bobby Brink. He's playing pretty good for a rookie. Definitely a deeper league ad, but like I said, if you're in a deeper league, take a look at him. And then lastly, we have Risto Ristolainen, who is currently on the first line power play. I don't know how long this is going to last because Torts has really moved around the defenseman on this power play. First it was Sanheim, then it was York, then it was Sean Walker, and now it's Ristolainen. So I don't know how secure it is, but for this week with 3 games, it could be a good option. Next up, we have players on teams that have 3 games this week and have a top 10 opponent goals against average. So these guys could be great options. I can't say how good they are going to be when it comes to maximizing your games, but like I've told you so many times in this video, they could have off nights depending on your schedule. So to read this off, we have Stars players. I'm not going to get too much into this. You guys can see on the screen. I've color-coded the players that are on the first line power play. There's some really good options in here. I'll just read them off rapid fire. We have Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Mason Marchment, Wyatt Johnston, and Thomas Harley. Harley's a defenseman who's playing really good lately, so take a look at him if you need a defenseman. Next up, we have some Columbus Blue Jackets players. There are some really underrated options on this list because of the deployment some of these players are receiving. They have the second best opponent goals against average this week, so these players could do pretty well. We have Johnny Gaudreau playing great lately. Zach Werenski, super underrated, super low shooting percentage as well, considering his production. So I'm loving Zach Werenski. Then we got Kirill Marchenko, who had a hat trick the other night. He's playing absolutely incredible. One of the most underrated players in terms of his roster percentage. So please take a look at him. Then we got Yegor Chinakhov, another young player who's playing fantastic as of late, in the top 6 and on the first line power play as well. So really, really solid. Then we got Adam Fantilli, who is getting better deployment as of late because he got moved up to the top line. Not on the first line power play, but if he gets the type of minutes that we saw in his last game, he could be due for a breakout. Then, finally, we got Dmitry Voronikov. He's on that Russian line with Marchenko and Chinakhov, and he's on the first line power play as well. So, really solid option for this week. Moving on, we got some players on the Ottawa Senators. We have Drake Batherson, Josh Norris, and Jake Sanderson all on the first line power play. Senators have a really good opponent goals against average this week, so I think they could be in for some big games. Then we got another player, Vladimir Tarasenko. He's not on the first line power play, but he is in the top 6, playing on the line with Tim Stützle and Drake Batherson, so he could put up points this week considering the good opponent goals against average. Then we got some more players. Boston Bruins. We got Pavel Zacha, first line power play. We got Morgan Geekie, who is on the first line power play now. Keep an eye out for Geekie. We'll see how his deployment changes, but it is promising for him. Then we got some other players, Charlie Coyle, JVR, and Jake DeBrusk. Then we got some Leafs players. Not the best option and definitely more of an option in a deeper league, but this is because the Leafs are so top heavy. We have Matthew Nyes, who's playing on the first line with Matthews and Marner. We got Tyler Bertuzzi, and then we got Max Domi. Then we got 2 Avalanche players here. Jonathan Drouin, who is on the first line power play and putting up a lot of points as of late, so please take a look at him if you're in a deeper league and he's available. And then we got Devin Tapes. Next, we got 4 Jets players. I doubt the first 2 are available, but we got Gabriel Velarde, who is on an absolute heater. He's playing incredible, and you got to think the Kings front office is regretting that trade. Then we got Nikolai Ehlers. With Kyle Connor's injury, he got moved up to the first line power play. He's in the top 6. That first line of Velarde, Ehlers, and Scheifele is on absolute fire. And with their easy opponent goals against average, I could see them continuing their hot streak. Then we got 2 more players, guys. Cole Perfetti, who's on the first line power play. Really solid option, even though he doesn't get the best minutes. First line power play is pretty good. And then we got Nino Niederreiter. Lastly, we have players on 2 more teams. With the Buffalo Sabres, we have Casey Middlestat. He's still getting good deployment on the first line power play. He's having a solid year. He doesn't have the best peripherals, so keep that in mind if you're in a category league or a league that heavily values shots, hits, and blocks. But he could put up some points this week, so take a look at him. Then we got Dylan Cousins, JJ Peterka, and Zach Benson. Then the last team, we have the New Jersey Devils. We got some players on here that I think could be in for a big week. We have Tyler Toffoli, who I think is due to bounce back. He has been struggling lately, but he was really good to start the year, so I could see him putting up some points. First line power play. Then we got Luke Hughes, who is quarterbacking one of the best power plays in the league in the New Jersey Devils. He's due to have a big night soon, and I think it could be this week. Then we got Timo Meier. Terrible deployment as of late. I understand he has been terrible, but I do think he still has talent and he could put up points. So if he got dropped, take a look at him. Then we got Eric Holla, who's on the first line with Toffoli and Jack Hughes, and then Dawson Mercer, who is a solid player in a deeper league. Finally, I just wanted to give you guys some underrated players that played 3 times this week. We have Nick Paul of the Tampa Bay Lightning. He just got moved up to the first line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. He had 2 3-point nights back-to-back, and he's also still on the first line power play. So this guy could put up a lot of points if this deployment continues. Then we got Mason McTavish, who just returned from his injury. I'm not sure how he's going to play. He might be a little bit rusty, but he was playing fantastic when he was healthy, so he could be a good option. Then we got Sam Bennett. I don't understand why this guy's only 18% rostered. He has great peripherals. He's playing top 6 minutes and on the first line power play. It doesn't make any sense to me, guys. Bennett will be due for a streak, and his roster percentage is going to go way up. Then we got Troy Terry of the Anaheim Ducks. He's playing pretty good as of late. He's not going to be one of the best fantasy players, but I think he is bouncing back, and I think he's always a solid stream. Then we got some other players, guys. We got Dylan Strome playing really good as of late. Top line minutes, first line power play. I think he's going to have a great year. Last year, he was great too. He put up over 60 points, so 29% rostered I think is far too low. Then we got Marco Rossi of the Minnesota Wild. He is on the first line power play with Zuccarello out week to week with an injury. He's in the top 6 as well, so with only being 9% rostered on Yahoo, I think he's pretty underrated. Then lastly, we got 2 Ducks players. Adam Henrique. He's only 13% rostered, but he's been playing really good as of late. Solid peripherals, and he's getting a decent amount of power play time as well, so good option. Then we got Trevor Zegras. He's 40% rostered. He's been injured for about a month and a half now, I think. And I think we are learning today that he could be returning to the lineup. So he could be healthy for this week. And I think he was really underperforming to start the year. So he should bounce back. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Happy holidays. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.